Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a new edition of Palaces of Carrara, a game coming soon by Game Brewer. Now let's get straight into it. Instead of just covering the differences between this version and the older version, I'll just explain the entire game as you might be new to it like I was. There are a couple areas of key interest here on the board. First, this is the brick wheel. This is how you will purchase blocks to use them to build buildings. Then these are the buildings that you're going to build. These have piles here on the side to refill the buildings as they get purchased. And then this is your player board where you will be placing your buildings. You will be choosing certain buildings to construct and also choosing which city that you want that building to go in. You will see why those things might be more important as I cover this game more thoroughly. Each player starts with a player screen to hide their money and their bricks. Everyone starts with 20 money and 2 blocks of a specific color, depending on their player order. Each player has 6 scoring markers that they will use throughout the game, but they will be placed out here on the royal court at the beginning of the game. Players will take turns in a clockwise order, taking one of 4 possible actions. And let me go over these actions and also explain those sections on the board as well. The first action, of course, is to buy building blocks, which you will probably spend your beginning turns performing. There are 6 segments on the wheel, and the wheel can rotate. When it rotates, the blocks move and become cheaper. On your turn, you can either buy blocks wherever they are on the wheel, or you can rotate the wheel once, add new blocks by counting how many that are currently on the wheel, and then adding more so that the total number of blocks on the wheel is 11. When adding blocks, you will draw them blindly from the bag. After that, you can then purchase blocks. You can only buy blocks in one segment on your turn, and the prices are listed on each of the segments. If a color is not listed in a segment, then it becomes free to take. Again, you can only choose one segment to buy blocks at per turn, so you might get some free ones, but then you can purchase some other ones with your money as well. Now, some blocks will possibly be more beneficial to you when building. For example, the white blocks are usually the most expensive or hardest to gain, but they will benefit you the most when building. Also, many times you might want to rotate the wheel so that you can purchase cheaper blocks, but sometimes you can get away without rotating it so that you won't set up your opponents to get even cheaper blocks than you. After purchasing blocks, you will then add them behind your player screen. Now, after you have enough blocks or some blocks, you will at some point want to construct a building or monument, which is the second action that you can perform on your turn. Whenever you have enough of those blocks or certain blocks of a specific color, you can use them to build a building or a monument. There are 9 buildings to purchase, and when they are bought, they are placed on your player board, and then they score either money and or points. There are 6 different types of buildings, each with different values. Orange tiles are urban buildings and greens are the rural landscape buildings. Now again, for this action, you can construct a building or you can construct a monument and claim an improvement tile. Monuments have a value of 8 and are harder to build. So again, you would want to build a super building or a monument as you can claim an improvement tile as well. When constructing a building, you'll pick one of the buildings on the board and then you will pay the number of blocks listed on that building. Now you'll need to be careful because the type of blocks that you use will determine where the building can be placed on your player board. At any time, you can exchange 2 blocks of a lower color to substitute for 1 block of the next higher level. Players will want to build their buildings as far left on their player board as possible, and when paying the blocks used to build it, the lowest type according to the hierarchy of colors, will determine the highest spot that that building can be built in. For example, 2 whites and 1 yellow and 2 red can be used to buy this 5 building. But since red is the lowest color, the highest this building can be built in is the red city or any cities to the right of it. But again, the city furthest to the left will most likely pay out better. You can look below each city to see what the payout of each type of those are. Whenever you decide to build a monument, spending 8 blocks to do so, you will take that monument, which is always available to build, well, until it's built by someone else, and you will place it in on that city. Again, according to the lowest level brick that you used to pay for that building. You can also upgrade existing buildings of the same type by replacing it with a monument, placing a new monument on top of a building, and paying the difference between the two. When you construct or upgrade to a monument, you will gain your choice of an improvement tile for free. These will make certain cities or actions more valuable to gain money or points, depending on which one you get and where you place it. You will then place that improvement tile on top of the space that it improves, making it more enticing for you to build buildings in that area. Multiple buildings can be built in each city, so you'll simply add the new building on top of the already built buildings in that city. When things are just right, you can then take the third action, which is to score. Again, you have 6 scoring markers, so you can perform this action a total of 6 times. There are 14 scoring locations, and each city on the main board is available to everyone, but it can only be scored 1 time by the first player who decides to do that. The locations on their player board are also available only to you on your player board, and it can only be scored once as well. When you choose to score, you take the royal visit marker, indicating to others that you scored on your turn, and you get to pick a bonus. All other players on their turn can then also choose to score to receive the same bonus or take one of the normal actions instead, foregoing the added bonus. At the start of your next turn, you will then return that royal visit marker. Anyways, when scoring, you will select your bonus that you want to get and take your scoring marker off from that section and then place it in an empty scoring location that you want to score. The bonus that you get is either to gain 5 additional coins or 3 additional points. You will then figure out how much you score according to that specific spot that you picked. You will take the building's value in that area and you will multiply it by the corresponding reward. You will get money, points, or a combination of the two. Points are tracked by the score marker, and money is gained and kept behind your player screen. Any players who follow, if they want to, they will get the bonus as well. They will take their scoring marker in the same slot and then score wherever they'd like to place it. Everyone who doesn't score following the player who initiates it will move their scoring marker in that slot off into the area with no bonus. So again, you can score any of the 6 locations on the main board, which will pay out what's listed on the top of your player board. But to do this, you will actually need either 2 or 3 buildings above that city that you want to score. Again, place your scoring marker on that city on the main board. You will add up the value of the buildings, and you will multiply it by the reward shown. You can score any of the 6 building types receiving the listed rewards shown at the bottom of your player board. To score these, you will need to have constructed at least 1 building of that type. It doesn't matter which cities the buildings are in, they will all contribute to your reward. The scoring marker is left on that space on the bottom of your board, and you will add up the value listed on each of that building type and multiply it by the listed reward. Lastly, you can score the urban and rural landscapes on your player boards, receiving the rewards for having certain types of those tiles. Again, you will need at least 1 of the type of buildings to score it, but you probably want to have as many as you can to maximize your rewards. Urban are the orange tiles, and rural buildings are the green ones. It doesn't matter which cities that they are in, all buildings of that type will contribute to the reward. You'll place your scoring marker on that space, add up the value of those types of buildings, and multiply it by the rewards listed. Remember, you can gain upgrades when building monuments, which will increase those rewards. The last action that you can take is to pass and take 2 coins. Now, this isn't the most efficient action that you want to take, but when you're stuck in a tight spot, this can be what gets you out of the corner. The game continues until 2 conditions are met. First, at least 1 player has used all their scoring markers, and then second, the building pile is empty. So plan your game knowing that all building tiles will need to come out and be available, and make sure you try to get all your scoring markers used up as well. When both of those conditions are met, the player who triggered the end of the game receives 5 points, and all other players get 1 more turn. All players will then receive 1 point for every 5 coins that they have rounded down, and the player with the most points wins the game. Now the game also has a more advanced version that you can graduate to, so let me explain that version and what it adds to the game. First, the wheel is flipped over, so now you have decorations on each slot, plus you have different colors of statue on the small wheel. Decorations will add 1 to the building's value during scoring, and the statues will make the building eligible for statue scoring. The end of game scoring will then score points for sets of decorations, and for having majorities of statues per city. Let's look more into this. So when buying blocks, you can now rotate both wheels together, one segment, and add blocks like normal. Or you can rotate the inner statue wheel and not add any blocks. And then when you buy a block in a segment, you may choose to take either the depicted decoration or the depicted statue. Decorations will go onto a previously built building with the matching decoration listed on it, only 1 decoration per building, and a statue goes onto one of your previously built buildings in a city that uses the same color blocks for construction. For example, a red statue can go on any building built in these 4 cities. And there's only 1 statue allowed per building, but you can share with a building that has a decoration. If you gain a statue but you can't place it on any buildings or you don't want to, it will then go to your warehouse at the bottom of your player board. Now, when you take a construct a building action and you actually construct a monument and you claim an improvement tile, if there is a decoration or a statue on the building that you are upgrading, the one that is going to become a monument, it's actually lost, but placed on the top of the monument still just to keep track of it. But it won't give you any added points, so plan according. The Royal Court board is also flipped over and gives you new bonuses. Players now have 8 total scoring markers instead of the 6. You'll still have access to the 5 money and the 3 point bonuses, but now also you can choose a decoration of your choice or take a gold statue, which are gilded marble and can go on any available building. And now going to the scoring. Now when scoring, there are 14 normal locations from the normal game, plus 5 more in the advanced. There are 2 new money scoring spaces. You can place your scoring marker in one of those spaces to claim it, and it will trigger at the end of the game. You will need to have the minimum number of coins to place your scoring marker on those slots, and then you will need to show that many coins to the other players to verify that you can place your marker there. Now, you will keep all those coins, you won't spend them, as these 2 spaces are activated at the end of game, unlike all other spaces. You'll simply exchange your coins for points with a better ratio than the 5 for 1 that is normally done. So a 3 for 1 or a 2 for 1 is way better. Player boards are flipped over as well to the advanced side, where there are 2 warehouses that contain all the same scoring locations as the other side for the normal game, but it adds 3 statue scoring locations. These spaces have paired cities with them. To score statues, a scoring marker is placed on one of these spots, and you will gain a reward for each building that has a statue in either of the listed cities shown. You will add the building's value with the decoration, if any, and then multiply it by the city's reward. You will do that for each building with a statue in your chosen 2 city columns. The last addition to the advanced rules is a bonus action. On your turn, you can buy a decoration or a statue from the supply for 10 coins, and this is not considered your action either. The decoration will immediately go onto a building, and a statue will have to go on a city that matches the statue's color. This is different from the normal statue placement rule, so when buying, you will choose your color and put it on a building of that same color city. Final scoring is the same as the regular version, except for the players who place scoring markers on those other money conversion places. They will get the 3 for 1 or the 2 for 1 instead of the 5 for 1. Decorations are scored for sets. You want sets of the same decorations. Then players score based on who has the most statues in each city. For example, the white city, whoever has the most statues will score 12 points. Second place gets 6. And third place gets 3. And that's it! Just remember, 2 blocks of one color may be substituted for the next highest color. A building's value is the construction cost shown to the top right of its tile, plus 1 for any decoration. You can only construct buildings in a city with blocks that are desired in that city, so you're limited to using certain color blocks in certain cities. And once you upgrade a building to a monument, the old building underneath is out of play for the rest of the game. This game takes a proven Euro game and modernizes it with some great changes. The game is strapped with new layers of strategy so that the game can continue to survive in a market that produces so many new board games each year. Will it survive? Well, time will tell, but I think it will have a great chance. First, the game mechanics are simple enough to pick up and won't take over 10 minutes to explain how to play the game. It has quick turns where you'll be doing one of 4 things on your turn, and there are more decisions within the initial decision as to what you want to do each turn, but it won't cause you to become overloaded and not know what you're even doing in the game. The game definitely has many choices for strategy, and many times players will need to solely adapt to the game to do well. So there is no best way to play the game. Players have to adapt. Initially, in the game, you'll want to manage your money the best to get the best, cheapest bricks as possible so that you can start building stuff. As the game develops, you will focus on certain cities as they will score different points from their scoring effects. And the more buildings that you build to the left of your player board, the higher you will score or the more money that you will gain. You will be balancing between gaining money to use to buy bricks versus scoring points to have a higher score at the end of the game. In the advanced version, it's even harder to make decisions as you want to collect sets of decorations on top of that, plus you want to have the majority of statues in each city to gain additional points that you don't want to leave out on the table for others to grab. So in the advanced version, it will cause you to focus on what other players are also doing to make sure that you're keeping up with them. These new changes to the game opens up the game so there are so many ways to change your strategy. Each small decision on each turn will add up to form a larger strategy that can always be changed during play. Usually, I see planning as a big factor in these games, but this doesn't require much planning as other Euro games. This game requires more adaptability. So ultimately, this game takes an established, true and tried Euro game that had great success and adding some layers of strategy that opens up the game a little more than the original does. So beautify the surrounding cities with your family and friends in Palaces of Carrara by Game Brewer. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.